In order to get the class started, we want to make sure that everyone's Vectorworks has the same settings. In order to do that, you should download these two files from web courses, the Vectorworks Class 2023 file and the Vectorworks Setup 2023 PDF. The PDF is a printed version of the instructions that I'll be showing you on screen, so you can follow along either way. For those of you who are undergrads who took the Vectorworks 1 course last year, this is a slightly different setup than we used in that class, so you'll want to do the setup again. Once you've downloaded the files, the first thing you should do is open Vectorworks. And through the magic of fast forward, mine's open faster than yours is. Once Vectorworks is open, you may get this information screen. You should go ahead and do that. Then you will likely get this screen. What we want to do is open the Vectorworks setup file. So open and find the file that you downloaded from web courses, the Vectorworks Class 2023. You will get this message. And your setup should look something similar to this. If you're on a PC, it may be slightly different, but hopefully it's close. If you have issues with the PC setup, let me know and we can do an individual Zoom and see if we can straighten those things out. So just to briefly run through some of the various setup items, the first thing we want to do is look at the workspace. Under Tools, Workspaces. The Vectorworks is actually a suite of tools that's built around a central engine, and it comes in different workspaces for different industries. Some of them are self-explanatory, architect, obviously. Braceworks deals with structural truss and entertainment. The design suite is all of the elements. That's what you have is the educational suite, so it has all of the different versions built in. Landmark is for landscape architecture, and Spotlight is for entertainment. It has, as the name would imply, all of the tools for theatrical lighting, but it's also the version that is usually used by scenic or event designers. So we want to make sure that we're in Spotlight. And whenever you change workspaces, it takes just a second to shift things around, although we didn't actually change anything there, so nothing changed. The next thing we want to look at is preferences. So under Options, Vectorworks Preferences. I don't think there's anything changed in the Edit screen. I think everything there is set to the defaults. The one thing you should know about in Display is zoom line thicknesses. When zoom line thickness is turned on, lines display on the screen as thick or thin, depending on how you've set them. If it's turned off, then lines appear basically as small as they can. You don't see any difference between thick lines and thin lines. When we're doing 2D drafting, we want to deal with line thicknesses. When we're working in 3D, we generally want the lines to be as small as they can so we can zoom in and make sure that things are actually touching each other. Particularly if we're working on creating a file for 3D printing or something, it's very important that things actually are really aligned, and sometimes it's hard to tell with thick lines how things are aligned. So you generally in 3D want to work with zoom line thickness is turned off. In Session, I think everything here is default. Some people like to up the number of undos. That's up to you. 3D. We probably want our 3D conversion resolution actually set to high or very high. If you're working on a slow computer, you may want to back that down, but I would certainly say high is the best option. Autosave, I tend to change this to like every 5 minutes. Vectorworks has a history of crashing, you should know. So I would set autosave to 5 minutes or less probably. Interactive, I don't think there were any changes there. User folders, this is just where things store on the computer. I usually leave this as it said. It puts things in wherever your overall Vectorworks folder is. Smart options, there are no changes here, and quick search, those are the defaults. So those are it's a quick tour through the preferences and the settings that I will be using in class. I'm not going to save this yet. Then the next thing we want to look at is document preferences. So under File, Document Settings, Document Preferences, and there are not any changes. I don't think there need to be any changes in the document preferences, actually. The output of design layer raster rendering, this is the default is 72 dpi. You probably want to set this to 150 dpi. Legacy we're going to leave off. Plan shadows only really affects landscape architecture, and we're not going to really be doing anything with that, so you can just sort of ignore that screen. Click OK there. And then next we want to look at spotlight preferences. So we go back to File, Document Settings, Spotlight Preferences, and you can leave all of these the same, just leave them the defaults. The lighting devices, can leave the parameters as default. Under classes and colors, you want to make sure that modify lighting device color is checked, and we want to set the color by the color field. These two things should be checked, and you want to modify only the geometry and the lighting lens class. What this allows you to do is to, if you have stage lights, to if this is not turned on this way, no matter what color is emitted from the light looks, the light itself, if you're looking at the light, it looks like it's white. So it could be putting out a beam of red light, but it will look like it's coming from a white light, which is a little weird. So if you do this setup, you can have the light itself, the lens, match the color that's actually coming out of the light. I'm not sure why that would even be an option, but it is. So you want to make sure that's set. Universes you can ignore, and light right, you just want to make sure to have automatic light right data exchange turned on. This isn't really something for this class. This is, but for those of you who, well, I guess for the undergrads who are lighting designers, if you want to transfer information back and forth between light right and Vectorworks, you have to make sure to have this check mark turned on. And I think lastly, we're going to look at page setup. File, page setup. Hopefully, you can get, this is easy on a Mac. It's more complicated on the PC. We're going to be working with an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. Ideally, what happens here is this is already set up like this, but if you need to go to printer setup, find a printer, hopefully any printer, and choose a tabloid piece of paper in landscape. Click OK. It should show you that it's in the neighborhood of 11 by 17. This is 16.5 by 10.5 because of printer margins, but that's what's going on there. And generally speaking, you always want one horizontal sheet and one vertical sheet. Vectorworks will allow you to create larger sheets out of smaller sheets. So if you wanted to do a big drawing, you could have, you know, a grid of smaller paper. That's not ideal, so we want to not do that, hopefully. On a PC, this is slightly different. And I can't show you how it works on a PC here with the Mac. If you look at the PDF for these instructions at the end, there are setup instructions for a PC. So hopefully that will will help you with that setup. In the PDF, there are settings for layers and classes. You'll see that there's a whole long list of classes. There's nothing really to do here. These should have imported into your program with the setup file, so I just wanted you to be aware that these are all here. So this is the class tab, this is the layer, the design layer tab, and this is the sheet layer tab. And you should have settings that look similar to these. In case you're missing this or these, you want to look at the palettes and make sure that these palettes are turned on. Object info, including all three things here, navigation, classes, all of the things there. You can right now leave visualization off, lights off, cameras off, attributes you want turned on, working planes can be off, resource manager you want turned on, and you definitely want basic and tool sets. These are the two sets of tools, which are right here, that you're going to be using the most. And I believe that is the end of the setup. If you have any questions, yours is not set up like this for some reason, because as I said, it should automatically set itself up like this when you open the stationary file. Let me know. And speaking of the stationary file, what you need to do now that you've gone through this and sort of verified that it's all the same, is you need to save this as a file that you can open each time to get back to these settings. So what we're going to do is go to File, Save as Template, and you can save this as, I like to call it Vectorworks Class, or Works Class 2023, and you want to put it in the templates file. That should already be selected for you. I saved mine to the desktop so I could put it in web courses, which is why I had desktop there. But this should be the file, the location that it defaults to. If it's not, it's in the templates folder in your Vectorworks folder, wherever that is on your computer. So make sure that it saves to there. I save. So then what should happen is the next time you go to open a file, if we do File, New, it will ask us, do we want to create a blank document using a template? Say yes, and tell it. You'll notice I've saved this about several times here. Which one do I want? I want that one. So select the template that you just saved, and when you open your file, it should open with all of the various settings that we just set. All right, so now that we're all set up the same, we can move on to actually using the program.